We got one. Kind of sounds like in Ghostbusters. She's like, we got one. And she hits the buzzer. We got one. That was Annie Potts' finest work. Ex-FBI lawyer Kevin Kleinsmith is going to plead guilty. He's got a hearing come up. Going to plead guilty in the Russia collusion probe. Now, liberals, Democrats are doing everything they can, everything they got here. Using every trick in the book, trying to come up with a way that they don't have to admit that everything that the conservative argument has been saying here for the last going on 4 years now has been true, and everything that they said was bull. There was no Russia collusion. There was no plot to steal the election involving the Trump campaign. And all that stuff about how, it was totally legitimate. The FISA applications were fine. The FBI is so professional. James Comey's a superstar. He's hilarious. I love James Comey. All that crap. Lie. It's all a lie. And the conservatives who have been saying this was spying, and all credit due to A.G. Barr on this for coming out and saying it as Attorney General, that they were spying on the Trump campaign. Yes, they were. Let's not let them lie about this. Let's not let them mislead on this anymore. There was Obama administration spying on the Trump campaign. That happened. That is a fact. And people broke the law. They broke the law at the top reaches of the federal government for that end. That is now also a fact. Look at how the Democrats and the libs and the deep state made a huge deal. Oh, General Flynn pleaded guilty. General Flynn's a criminal. There must be all this other criminality around it. It was all smoke and mirrors, my friends. They completely ambushed Flynn. They set him up. Lies, lies, and more lies. They set up General Flynn. But they used that. They used, we got him. There must be other stuff. Now we have this ex-FBI lawyer, Kevin Kleinsmith, who's pleading guilty as part of the Durham investigation. Now, some of you are saying, Buck, you told me. Now, this is, okay, now we do accounting for this, right? Now we do a full assessment of where we currently stand and my prediction. I told you that no big fish, no names you knew would get criminally charged in the Durham probe. And I said that maybe, if you go back, you can listen, I said maybe some smaller, lower-level people will get a process crime or something. Unfortunately, this is that. This is not earth-shattering. This is not, James Comey getting frog-marched. Handcuffs. No, this is a senior FBI lawyer, but still a government functionary, who lied in order to get FISA going on Carter Page. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Why would you lie on a FISA application? It was very straightforward, too. Kleinsmith claimed that Page was not a source for the CIA when the CIA had actually told the Bureau on multiple occasions that Page was, in fact, an operational contact for them. This isn't a minor detail. Libs will try to tell you that this is a minor detail. Libs will try to claim that this is just, it was like a good faith error. No, he's being charged because this is not a good faith error. This was stacking the deck to get an illegal warrant. When you lie for a warrant, the warrant is not legal. Right? If I could have done this so many times when I was working at the NYPD Intelligence Division, I could have said, I've got a confidential informant who's telling me that somebody's stockpiling explosives in their garage. And I filled out a whole report on my make-believe confidential informant, and then we busted in someone's garage because I didn't like that person, or I'm going to be in a lot of trouble. I'm going to go to jail for that, and I should, right? If I did that. It's so easy to do. That's what was done here. By lying about Page's contact with the CIA, it made it possible to believe. It would be impossible to believe that Page is working with and helping the CIA track actual Russian agents, but Carter Page himself, some people in the FBI think, might be a Russian agent for the Trump, working with the Trump campaign to steal the election. Doesn't make any sense, right? So to avoid the obvious conclusion of it doesn't make any sense, this guy lied. And he will now have a felony criminal conviction under 18 U.S.C. 1001 for false statements, according to the latest reporting on this one. So there is a development here. This is progress. This is showing us that at least there's seriousness in this Durham probe. What's really going to happen, and so I still think my prediction's probably going to be correct. I don't think you're going to see any of the big name people in all of this get even charged, never mind go to prison. But there was a deep state effort to destroy the Trump presidency that involved senior people in the FBI breaking the law to take him down. Not just abusing power, that's all over Russia collusion. That's all over this stuff. But going beyond the abuse of power into the criminal weaponization of law enforcement and surveillance authority for political purposes. So I'm also very much hoping, but I don't think it will happen. But I am hoping that we may find out in time that who the leaker was of the Flynn conversation. That was a senior person. Whoever leaked the Flynn conversation to Ignatius, which was necessary to get this whole thing going, right? These were all very deliberate. That was a felony criminal leak of top secret information. And that person is a criminal and should be punished to the fullest extent of the law. That person is also, like this Kleinsmith guy, a senior figure in the deep state effort against Trump, whoever it was. Only certain people would have had access to that information and motive. That's a very important part of this as well. You have to keep in mind that these are people who took actions. This guy Kleinsmith took an action that has destroyed his career and will adversely affect the rest of his life. I mean, I don't think he probably will get if anything, a very short jail sentence. I mean, life isn't over for this guy, but this is going to hurt. You're a lawyer and you had to plead to a felony to go after the Trump administration. Now, I've told you this before, the left, they take care of their own. This guy is going to end up with some consulting gig, or you watch Kleinsmith, after pleading to a felony, give it 6 to 12 months, and he'll, if you track him down, you'll find out he's got some really nice, well-paid gig somewhere with a big Obama-Biden donor, right? Someone within that Democrat sphere is going to hook this guy up. We on the conservative side, we're not good at this. We don't take care of our soldiers. We don't take care of the people in our ideological fight. We're like, oh yeah, go, come on, it's just the free market. It's just a free market. And that's not that simple, actually. It's not just the free market. So that's one part of this. Another part of this is that Kleinsmith shows you the mentality, the severity of Trump derangement syndrome, even at very senior levels within the United States bureaucracy. This guy's a lawyer at the FBI. And he hated Trump so much that he was desperate to get this Carter Page FISA going. Otherwise, why do it? We saw the text messages with Strzok and Page. Oh, we'll prevent this. Don't worry, baby. I got this covered. Give me that back rub again. Oh, please don't let Trump be president. Oh, no, baby. I'm a big, tough FBI guy. My name's Peter Strzok. I kind of talk like this for no reason. I don't know why, but I have never, sir, done any. No, he did. We saw it in the text messages. Both cheating on their spouses and cheating on their spouses in the office, too. It's really gross. I don't do too much of the getting into the personal stuff of these public figures, but it's really gross. Well, we see the mentality. We see what they're willing to do. The media lied to you. CNN, the New York Post. I'm sorry, pardon me, not the New York Post. The Washington Post, the New York Times, they lied to you and lied to you and lied to you again about Russia collusion. And now we're just beginning to see what accountability for all of that looks like. We're just beginning to see the final narrative of the truth coming out in a way that I think is necessary for us as a country to be able to even think about moving forward and talk about reform. How do you stop this from happening again? Does anybody really believe that Democrats would be unwilling to run the same playbook? They're not ashamed of this. They're just sorry it didn't work. They're not sad that some people, Comey and Brennan and Clapper and Page and Strzok and go down the list, and McCabe, some of these people broke the law to go after Trump. They're not sad. They're not bothered by it. The only thing in Russiagate that bothers libs is that it didn't really work. It was useful, but it was not ultimately successful. So if you're really understanding the way the left-wing mentality works and what we should expect going forward, we should all know that they will, if we allow it, if we do not stand on guard against it, they will try this again. They'll do the exact same thing the next time around. Only better. Now they will have learned. They'll have used this as a test run. Just conjure some crazy narrative, get the left-wing base all fired up about some insanity, have the mainstream media just act like the propaganda shills they are. See if they can take down a Republican president. What is it like down in North Carolina these days, my friends? I was down there. I love North Carolina. Producer Mark, I know you're a Florida guy, but it is worth you visiting at some point because I've heard really good things about some of the coastal Carolina towns. I was down in Craven County, which is where New Bern, which is the former colonial capital of North Carolina, is located. It's a river town, really cool little town. Lovely people, had a great time. But I traveled. I flew on airplanes. I was on 4 different flights because that's how tough it was to get down there. 4 different flights to get down there. And there's what I saw with regard to the COVID measures that people are taking. And then there's also what I'm being told now that I'm back in New York. Well, let me just get into this. So I'm looking at the situation in the airport. Here's what really strikes me. So you're walking around in the airport. So you're passing each other. Now, airports are indoors, obviously a lot of space. I was at LaGuardia here in New York, which is a third world crap hole of an airport. But, you know, I'm at LaGuardia, and I'm walking around, and I see that everyone's wearing masks, okay? Everybody's got a mask on. You can't be in the airport without a mask. But then when you go to the restaurant areas where people will wait, or you go to the Starbucks or whatever, you sit down in the lounge or in the food court. Everyone's masks are down because they're eating and they're drinking. And, they're taking their time. So you wear a mask when you're walking past people, but you don't really wear a mask when you're sitting for 20 or 30 minutes to eat and you're in close quarters. You're all breathing in the same air. So the mask comes down for that. Like, for instance, see, this is why all this stuff about wear a mask is also crazy in a lot of places. Not all the time, not everywhere, but the wear a mask mania that's out there is absurd because we're not really wearing masks. Even when we're supposed to wear masks all the time, we're not doing that. So there's still going to be, and to eliminate any human contact of any kind is to have society cease functioning. You got to get groceries. You got essential workers. There's things that has to happen. This is why this is all pipe dream. This is all absurd that we're crushing the virus with our actions. That's why I'm also so annoyed that you have the New Jersey Governor, Phil Murphy, here saying that we need an outdoor mask mandate. Play 12.
Now, you have mandated that in your state, people must wear masks if they're outside and can't socially distance at least 6 feet apart. Do you think all governors across the country should issue that kind of mandate?
I do, Chris. I think the science and the data, the facts are unequivocal. It used to be up until, in fact, a few weeks ago that the science said by doing so you're protecting others. The science now says it works both ways. And I think if we had a national, as we've called for now for many weeks, if not months, a national masking policy, I think we could accelerate dramatically driving this virus into the ground. It's been a big weapon for us in New Jersey, but as a nation, we're only as strong as our weakest link. To have a national strategy, I think, would be a game changer.
Where is this science that he talks about that says that we got to wear masks outdoors? I just can they share the study with me where that exists? I'm looking for this stuff all the time, every day. I haven't seen that. Outdoor mask wearing? Really? Where he says the science. This is a term libs love to use. The science. Where does the science actually indicate that? Just wondering. Okay, so you walk, as I was saying, you go around to the airport, and people are also all crowded together at the gates, and loading a plane takes forever. And then you get on the plane, and everyone's in close quarters in the plane. There's no middle seat empty or whatever. The planes were packed. I was on 4 planes packed with people, okay? Big planes. So people are flying. People are in close quarters. We're all wearing masks all the time until we're not, and then we're all just sitting around each other without masks on. And they think that that's what is, I'm telling you what is happening here. The virus spreads in a community. Some people are more susceptible to getting infected than others. Some people are more susceptible to a serious disease than others from it. And then when it has gone through, you reach a level where there's some degree of herd immunity, and then it's much harder for it to spread at a very, very rapid rate. That's what's happening. New York Times even publishing a story on this. Okay, this is but they don't want to admit that, because you know what that would mean? All this lunacy about the seriousness of these lockdowns and the months and months and months of can't do this, can't do that, and wear a mask all the time. Like, that's going to stop this. It's absurd. It's so it has been not just ineffective. I mean, I would argue it has been counterproductive. Peter Hitchens, who's the brother of the great Christopher Hitchens, tweeted out yesterday, if you have at any time wondered if you would have conformed or rebelled against the consensus at any of the great turning points of the last century and a bit, I think you now know. Yeah, I think we do. I think many people in our own society, including those who are more on the right, people on the left are used to just believing what they're told by the experts to believe, and think that they're really smart, and think that they're really, they're emotionally invested in this belief that because they, voted for Obama and will vote for Biden, and think that celebrities have important political analysis, they're emotionally invested in that belief means that they're intelligent. And so when you challenge that, they feel very undermined and angry and go on offense. When you're like, that doesn't mean anything. In fact, a lot of their ideas are really stupid. They react not by explaining why that's wrong. They react with outrage. So that's one other thing to keep in mind going forward for sure. But North Carolina was such a breath of fresh air, because people were, once I got there, breathing fresh air, walking around, living their lives. So I get back from North Carolina, where I'm surrounded by kind, well-mannered, friendly people who are, I'd say, 75% not wearing masks indoors, and almost none of them wearing masks. I mean, 20% I saw wearing masks outdoors in the open air, but very, very few. And I went out on the river. I checked stuff out. I was visiting a friend of mine down there. We grew up together here in New York, and we've been friends for over 30 years. He grew up like me in Manhattan. He went into the Marine Corps. I went into the CIA. So, there are plenty of people from NYC who still want to serve and do what they can for the country. So I saw all these people living life, and I thought, interesting, because North Carolina actually has far more COVID cases right now. It's considered a high-risk state compared to New York. So North Carolina is in worse shape with COVID cases, but people were just living their lives. And there were elderly people that I saw who were very, there were some elbow touches here and there, and, maybe keeping a little bit of distance. But the stuff that you would do, they were doing the things that you would do during flu season. Or if you knew there was a bad cold circulating in a community, they weren't doing the lock yourself in a room and never come out. They weren't doing that. And they're okay. Society is going on. It's all right. It's fascinating to see. Then I come back to New York, and I'm filling out all this paperwork on my mandatory. I'm in a 14-day mandatory quarantine now. So I'm filling out all my paperwork on my mandatory 14-day quarantine. And I'm just thinking, How are they going to? I mean, look, I'm going to stay away from people, and I'm going to be responsible, and I obviously don't want to put anybody at risk. But my life in New York is basically a quarantine anyway, right? So it's just the French bulldog, the snow princess, and occasionally I see my family. I'm going to give some space with my family now because I want to make sure they're safe. But I don't think the Frenchie is going to get. I don't think can dogs get it? Do we ever get a final? I don't know if we did. We ever find out about that?
I don't think there's definitive proof.
Yeah, I don't
proof
think they know
either
one
way
or the
yet.
other. But well, Tallulah's she's hardy. She'll be fine. So I'm thinking to myself, they're calling it a mandatory 14-day quarantine, but how exactly are they going to do this? Like, how is there going to be a quarantine for 14 days enforced? And the answer is they can't. The answer is it's really just a suggestion. So then why are they pretending like it's mandatory? It's weird. I just got a call today, a robocall, giving me like 2 minutes of a lecture for how we need to social distance and keep people safe and all this stuff. And I just wanted to turn around and respond. What are we really accomplishing with all this? I mean, if it's a public announcement, public service announcement, fine. But pretending it's a 14-day quarantine, they can't enforce that. And they say you can only go out for essential things. So if I'm out doing whatever I'm doing, all I have to do is, I'm getting groceries. You know, they don't know. Look, again, I'm going to be responsible about it. And I was in a state where there's COVID, and I understand all that. I'm going to get a test later this week. Oh, that's the other fun thing. You call a testing center. They say it's they're backlogged now because of all the resource constraints. And so you're looking at 7 to 10 days to get your results. So you can either get tested and quarantine or wait 2 weeks for your test results after quarantining. Seems like not a great option, right? That's where you are. And there are fancier concierge medicine places and things like that. I think some hospitals with their outpatient situation, I may try to find one of those, but I can tell you, because I'm not waiting 10 days. I need 2 days to find out if I've happened to have gotten COVID. And also, I want to say, I've been telling all of you, I think people should live their lives. And all. Yeah, I was just on 4 airplanes, out meeting people, out to dinner, all out in society and doing all this stuff. I'm ready. I'm doing it. Okay, I'm already doing it. I'm not. One of the things you used to hear from all these blue check libs, it's, well, you're just telling people to go out. Well, like, you're just staying. No, I'm open stuff. Open it up. Open it up. I'm living my life as much as I can and would live it even more. And I told you, even if I in 3 days have like a really sore throat and a fever and I have to miss a day or two of the show or something, it turns out I've got COVID, does not change my view on any of this one bit. I'm practicing what I preach with all this. But it's fascinating. I come into New York City, I'm getting these robocalls now, filling out this paperwork, this information, and the whole thing, it's absurd. It's absurd. Why even go through this pretense that they're really going to be able to monitor this at all and say they're going to be these huge, I think they'll fine you up to $10,000. It's just, the whole thing is bonkers. The whole thing is just nuts. Now they said they're going to open gyms in New York. We should have opened gyms 2 months ago in this city. It's not wear a mask that has saved us all, as much as Cuomo wants to pretend that's the case. That's not true. It's not you're doing a good job. You're listening to Cuomo, and so you'll be able to have some of your life back. Not all of your life, but some of your life. Some of your life. Remember, there's the politics of this, and there's also the fighting against that realization that I was telling you that they've put us through hell. And what if the science really does tell us in the end, and I believe that it will, that they put us through hell. I mean, we were going to get hit with this virus, people were going to die, and it was going to be terrible. That was happening. So I'm not in any way minimizing any of that. Or this was a bad virus, really dangerous to senior citizens. This thing has been bad news, no question. Okay, so we've established that. But we did all this other stuff. We did all these lockdowns and all of this, all the misery and the destruction of businesses and the loss of economic activity, the loss of freedom, the trampling on our constitutional rights. We've been through all that. That was all self-imposed. That was all decisions by people on top of the pandemic, people in charge. And now, as I've been saying, we look like we're heading toward herd immunity. We're just doing it with the maximum amount of pain, disruption, destruction, stupidity, and fecklessness from our political class. That's going to be the end result of all this. They can never allow us to come to a real firm consensus on that, though, because who's ever going to listen to these morons ever again? You know, who's going to want to believe this? This would be like, you know, the way it felt at the CIA after the WMD debacle, where everyone's like, well, yeah, you guys, the ones that got that thing so wrong, good luck. Good luck convincing people afterwards. So that's why I think it's interesting that Dr. Fauci is out there, and he's taking a shot at good old Tucker Carlson, play 16.
Well, I'm not concerned that what he says, it's a little bit, I mean, I think you could say that when he does that, that triggers some of the crazies in society to start threatening me, which actually happens. I mean, who would have thought when I was in medical school, doing things to save people's lives, I'd have to be going around with a security detail. I mean, that's really ridiculous.
Yeah, but you're a political figure now, dude. And people in politics and people in the media, they get threats all the time. Welcome to the club. Fauci doesn't like it that there are people out there criticizing him. So, of course, liberals do this. Fauci's a liberal. Liberals do this all the time. Oh, but don't criticize me. I get death threats. Death threats are horrible. They're illegal. People who make them should be put in prison. End of story. End of story. No matter who they're threatening, right? End of story. But this is a distraction from really digging into what has Fauci been telling us and how's he been right. And there will be a cover-up of epic proportions with this. Was the mask mandate necessary? Was social distancing effective as it was practiced? Were the lockdowns saving lives or actually costing lives? The medical establishment in America and the political establishment will unite with the media, all three of them, to make sure that we never get clear answers to those questions. Doesn't matter that we're going to face this issue again in the future. They don't care. They want to make sure that there's no accountability in the event that they were wrong with that stuff.
It's time for roll call.
Roll call, everybody. Let's get to it. First off, producer Mark, was everything okay while I was gone? Did you get a big case of the SADS?
Everything was great. We were on time, finished early. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, don't get used
Nobody
to it.
yelled at me.
Don't
it was
get
great.
used to it. Don't get used to it.
All right.
I know Mike Slater. He's the nicest.
He is the nicest person in radio.
He is
Truly
like
believe
Slater of Nazareth or something. He's like a really nice dude. It's amazing. Anyway, and he really is that nice. Like he's that nice all the time.
Yeah, it's not just on air. He's genuinely nice off the air.
Legitimately that he's a really nice guy. It's funny. People say that some of the people in media, they're like, oh, he's so nice. I'm like, no, that guy's not nice at all. Actually, that guy's terrible. Like that's true a lot of the time with Mike Slater. He is every bit as nice as any of you listen to him think he is. So I appreciate Mike. Plus, he's a very smart guy and very good radio host. But I'm always struck by like what a decent and just friendly and solid dude he is. But yeah, producer Mark, if you want to move to rural North Carolina, you can actually have your life back, believe it or not.
Wow, who knew? I know North Carolina is very nice. I've been there a bunch of times.
Really?
I even have friends there, yeah.
Have you been to Wilmington? That's where I was told if I had to go, that's where I should live.
Well, I used to call Hofstra basketball games and travel with the team. So UNCW, UNC Wilmington is one of their big rivals.
How was
Wilmington?
There. Pretty nice?
Wilmington's nice. They have a nice campus there. I didn't get to explore as much as I would have liked because I was on a business trip, really, but it's a nice area.
Well, I didn't pay attention to that I was gone. Anything new on the football, the sports thing? Just would tell the fans, tell the folks?
Some college football teams want to play, some don't. It's a mishmash right now.
I know Canada canceled their football league. Does anyone care? Is that a thing?
About
the
CFL, yeah, no.
It's like, hey, look, Canada cancels hockey. It's DEFCON 1. They canceled their football. It's like, come on.
I didn't even know that they did that.
I didn't know that. I knew there was like arena football. I don't know.
Oh, no, I know the CFL exists. I just didn't know they canceled.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no. Yeah. Apparently they've canceled, so there's that. Let's get to it now. Donald, Buck, you're going down the same path as that of Hillary Clinton and voters thinking that Trump's win in 2020 will be a cakewalk. Buck, it's not going to be a cakewalk for Trump because of the extraordinary circumstances, the coronavirus pandemic, and the ongoing nationwide protests and riots. If the Trump campaign and Trump voters let down their guard, we'll be waking up to a Biden-Harris administration on November 4th. Donald, I really appreciate you writing in and listening, but I'm quite certain that I have never thought. I think I've said 100 times on the show this is going to be a very tight election, and I'm worried. Okay, I don't think I've ever said it's going to be. Producer Mark, have I ever implied there's going to be a cakewalk? I don't think so. Not since the pandemic hit.
No, I don't think you have. No.
Yeah. See, even Producer Mark has to admit it, and trust me. If I gave him the opportunity to throw me under the bus with all of you listening, he would do it and laugh. So.
Oh yeah, it's my favorite sport.
It's his favorite thing. So he has to be honest. I have not said it's a cakewalk. But I understand, Donald, you're worried too. You want to make sure everybody's fired up and on edge, and it's going to be a tight election. I'm very confident about that, and it's just because of the demographic. Look at the states that are in play. There's not that many states. There are a maximum of maybe 10, but it's really 6 states that determine what's going to happen here, and it's going to be less than 1 million votes probably spread out between all those states determining who wins, maybe. So you're talking about 1% of the U.S. population really getting to decide. Their final determination will decide who will be the president of the United States, in essence. So you got to remember it. David, Buck, I live in Richmond. I couldn't remember Tim Kaine was Hillary's VP pick. Crazy. He started his political career on Richmond City Council, the most useless group of representatives you'll ever sit down with. David, I visited Richmond for the first time a couple years ago. It's a really nice little town. Producer Mark, you ever been there?
I have not, no.
It's actually a great, lot of history, really good food, beautiful buildings, in the downtown. And I really liked Richmond. I was a big fan. I thought it was a cool place. I had a great time visiting a friend down there.
We'll add it to the list for the tour.
Yeah, exactly. When we do the Buck Never Stops tour, ooh, that's what we should call it.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it is. Thank you. See, I'm on my game today. When we do the Buck Never Stops tour, that has to happen. Eileen, hello, Rockstar Patriot. Love you so much, my friend. I listen to you every night on Conservative Talk Radio. You are in the slot in my area where another host used to reside. You are amazing and much better. I am only on Facebook as far as social media. I follow you on the regular and love to see you on Fox News of late. Keep up the great work, Buck. Few and far between. Thank you so much. Yes, Eileen, I am much better than that host that we won't name that you're referring to, but I think we both know who it is. So thank you so much for having the good sense and good taste to recognize that. I think it's out on the West Coast. I'm going to give you that tip. Sarah. Hey, Buck, love the show. I often listen to you on my iHeartRadio app. Recently here in Eastern Washington, we've been getting iHeartRadio advertisements for Western Washington. Yesterday, I heard an ad from the waterfront area of Seattle basically begging people to come back and shop at the Pike Street Market and visit the aquarium and to come see how fabulous Seattle is. I wonder how long it'll take for the mayor to realize that homeless camps, heroin needles, poop on the streets, and a gutted police force is not a winning scenario. Why would anyone want to go to Seattle as a tourist? Seriously, this is not rocket science. Well, Sarah, I'll tell you, I've always wanted to go to Seattle. Producer Mark, you been? We're doing the Producer Mark Where Have You Been Day today on the show. Have you been?
I have not, but I've heard great things.
People tell me great food and beautiful as a city. So I've always wanted to go. I liked Portland when I visited. I just know that it's insane and run by crazy libs now. But I went over 10 years ago. Portland's a great weekend town to visit, and I've always wanted to go to Seattle. I was not a fan of the San Francisco downtown vibe when I was there, but if San Francisco had different people running it, it's an incredible physical place to have a city. I mean, the actual location is amazing. And
Too many hills.
What's up?
Too many hills.
Yeah, a lot of hills, but very beautiful. And I always just think of Full House. And I only need like a cool $3 million to buy that house that guy was living in. He was a local TV host living in a $3 million house. Producer Mark, what's up with that?
I mean, TV shows aren't supposed to make sense, especially stupid sitcoms like that.
Probably true. I just want to say probably. So let's see. Next up here. Sarah, hey, Buck, love the show. Oh, no, we just did that one. Jason, hey, Buck, missed your Daily Wisdom on Friday, but Mike Slater did a great job filling in. Now to the point. I've been somewhat perplexed by stories in the news about Trump using the post office to sabotage mail-in voting and steal the election. On the other hand, Democrats want $25 billion to bail out the USPS. As a mail carrier and a strong supporter of the president, I hope he's not purposely sabotaging the USPS. I would like to know your thoughts on the matter, Shield Side. Jason, I hope you got them today on the show because I gave you my thoughts on the matter. Thank you for doing what you do, man. We just want a reformed, lean, mean post office, but we do want people bringing the mail. So thank you for keeping up and being an essential worker. That's it for today, team. God bless and Shields high.